Hi crafters, it's Kathy from Scrap and Bean coming to you today for another Try It Tuesday, and today I'm going to be working with Diamond Glaze. This product by Judykins is something that gives you the look of glossy finish and kind of that wet look. Ranger also makes a product that does the same thing. There's a few brands that make these. The one by Judykins brand is called Diamond Glaze. And we do carry a few brands. They all work great. Today we'll just be working with this one. And this is the first, this is a brand new bottle. So you just take off your cap. And it is sealed at the top, like it's solid here. So you do need to take a pair of scissors and cut that little tip. And I just trim a bit off. And then check to see if I have a hole there yet, which I don't. I need to cut it down just a little bit farther. But obviously the farther down here you cut, the bigger your opening is going to be. So I always like to get it as small as possible. And I think I have a hole there. Yep, I do, because I got a little drop coming out there. So we have an opening now. And this paper here that I'm using, I've already cut it apart. This is a piece by Simple Stories from their Simple Vintage Country Harvest. And the paper is already in a design like 4x6 shapes, great for cards. So I'm just going to use this as a card front. But I want to add a little something extra to it. So if we take one of these, like this one here. So those I already pre-cut apart. And we'll zoom in closer here so you can see what I'm doing. So this little bee that's part of the design, we'll start with that. So I'm just going to take my bottle. You don't shake it or anything. In fact, well, there's no need to shake it. But if you do shake it, you're just going to put air in it, which means you're going to have air bubbles. It's also a good idea to store this either on its side or upside down so it's got less air in the nozzle there ready to go. And now it's just going to look wet. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, you can. Where the bee is just shiny and wet. And maybe I'll do it here on this word leaves as well. So because the nozzle is quite narrow. Now I'm off camera. I better widen out a little bit again. So because this nozzle is quite narrow, you can get this into some pretty small places. So I'm going to just put it right over top of this word leaves so that that word stands out. It'll have a little bit of dimension and it'll have that wet, glossy look to it. It is clear, so you're going to see whatever color is underneath there. So in this case, that nice rust color. And what I'm doing is I squeeze the bottle just enough for some of the fluid to come out. And then I stop squeezing, but I'm using the tip here to kind of smear it around and get it to fill in as much area as I need. It's quite fluid at this stage, but yet it kind of, I don't know how to describe it, sticks to itself maybe. Like it's not like water where it would just run all over your card. You get a certain amount of control so that you can put it where you want. And it's pretty good about staying there. However, I would not take this paper now and tip it or anything like that because it would start to run. Now, as you can see, the challenge with using this is once you start using it, it's one of these things where you just want to keep going and put it everywhere. So we'll just finish up this word here. And then I would set this aside to dry. There we go. So it's going to be the whole, the leaves and the please and the bee on here that's all going to end up glossy. So I don't know if you can see that it's wet there. It doesn't really, oh, if I get it in the right light, you can see what's wet. Even the words, you can see that they're kind of, they got the shine on there. And they're going to be even glossier as that dries. So I would just set that aside. Diamond Glaze is also, it's a glue, so it's an adhesive. So you can also use that to adhere things together. I wanted to do something where I can put, let's try this one here. I want to show you, you can actually drop some glitter in there as well. So I'll do one of these leaves here. Am I on camera? Pretty much. So with this is a little bit bigger area. So I take my nozzle and I'm working around the outline of the design. Then I can either squeeze it to fill in, or if I just need a little bit in spots, I can kind of push it around and get some control there. So I'll maybe do a few of these green leaves. Because as I say, once you get going on this, it's such a neat look and it's just fun to do it. Switches it up, adds something different, and it's hard to know when to stop. So while that is still wet, and it does take a while to dry because it's pretty thick on there, I'm going to add sprinkle some glitter. Now most of the time, most often when I sprinkle glitter, I use one that's like the cool or like the highlight glitters so that you can still see the color through it. But today I thought I will try with some green glitter. This one happens to be called Grasshopper, but I'm putting it on green leaves, so I don't want it solid because it's opaque and I still want to be able to see what's underneath there. So I'm just going to take out a little pinch and sprinkle some, just so that I have a little bit of it sticking to that, to the Diamond Glaze. And it's not just solid glitter. I still want to be able to see the leaves, the color of the leaf through it. I'll shake off the excess. And there, now I have some glitter that's going to be embedded right in the glossiness. You see a little bit there? You can see where it's glossy and some glitter in there. So that's another way to add some extra sparkle on there. Recapture my glitter here. And then I'm going to zoom back out so that you can see what I'm doing here. We can even have some highlight. Yeah, here's some cool highlight glitter. So you can do the same thing with the leaves. Now this one, because it's the highlight glitter, it's transparent. You can see right through it. So I'm just going to dump it right over top of the whole area. These are the words that I was doing earlier. Now they've already started drying enough that not too much is sticking. So let's try that on another spot. And I better put a lid on to start with. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this butterfly and some. So I'm just going to outline using the tip of my container here. Go around the outside of that butterfly wing. I'll maybe leave the body and just do that. And then I'm filling in the inside. Now some of the time I'm squeezing when I feel like I need more product out there. Other times I'm not squeezing and I'm just using this tip to take the product I've already got out and smear it around. Now if I see any little tiny air bubbles, I just kind of poke it with the tip of this. And this brand is pretty good about not having air bubbles down there, so that works out pretty good. And then I'll do this other wing as well. And then I'm just leaving the body of them so that the wings will look a little more dimensional than the body itself. Put a little more on that side. There. And then I'm going to take this, and I should put my paper underneath there to recapture. And I'm just solid right over my whole butterfly there. Dump off the excess. And right now it looks a little bit foggy, but once it dries it will go back to being clear, and you can see the glitter on there. So that's going to be really pretty and glittery. And that's using the highlight glitter, which means you'll still be able to see through it, so you'll still see all of the lines and the details of that butterfly. It's just really going to stand out on the card because it'll now have this high gloss on there and have some glitter. Something that I like to use this Diamond Glaze or any kind of a glossy product on is when you're trying to make something on your project look like glass. So in this case, this little Santa here has got these goggles on with glass on them. So that's a great way to make it look like there's actually glass in there. Makes them look glossy. You got eyeglasses. For when you have windows, anything like that, even these little berries, makes them stand up, gives them a little shine. Sometimes it's just a small touch of something that gives it a nice finish. Here's some more glasses on this guy's top hat. Lots of things that you can put it on just to highlight. So here is some chipboard. This happens to be from Southern Ridge. And this is something that you can also put your Diamond Glaze or any kind of glaze product on. I'm going to show you two different ways to do that. This first one, I'm just taking a distress crayon. This one happens to be Festive Berries. And I'm going to color it onto this word joy. So I'm making that a nice red color. Smear that on a little bit. A little bit of water on there gets it to smear nice. So I got quite a bit of the Distress Crayon on there, and then just moisten your finger, smear it on there with a little bit of water, and your crayon moves nicely and fills it all in. So there we've got a colored piece of chipboard. And now this other one I'm going to leave without having a color on it, so you can kind of see the difference of what's happening there. And if I can put them where the light is not glaring, we'll let the light glare go right in the middle. So on this one that is already colored, now I'll put some glaze on top of there. It's going to make it nice and shiny. And you could even add on, you know, some glitter to it if you wanted to make it glittery shine. It's one way to use glitter where your glitter is not going to fall off later, because this is like a, well, it's a glue. It's just a form of glue really, but it's one where it dries nice and clear and dimensional and not tacky. but you could use it as your glue as well if you had it out and needed something you needed to glue. We also sell this in really big refill bottles too. So if you're a real fan of it, you can buy it in larger volume. So it doesn't take too long. Now I've left just the tip of this without it so that I can touch it with my finger. Okay, so that's going to dry. It's a little bit cloudy looking, but it does dry 100% clear. Fill in any little spots where I may have missed or didn't put enough on. And you can come in and see these when you come into the store next, that they're going to be nice and high gloss. So that's one way to get your color on there and gloss. Now this one, maybe just push it aside. Here's another way to add color. And this one, it's actually the word Noel, but a lot of your chipboard comes with this frame, and then you just take your scissors and snip this out. But by leaving it in the frame while I'm working with it, it gives me something to hang on to that isn't going to have the glossy on there. So it's kind of nice when you're working on it just to leave that intact. So on this, I'm first going to go through and do the gloss like I did the others, but you see I'm leaving the chipboard just plain chipboard without coloring on it. And I'm putting it on there reasonably heavy. Unlike when I was working on the card fronts there and trying to be neat, this, if a little bit comes off, the drips down the side, it's really no big deal. But you'll see when you're working with it, even though it's very fluid, it's pretty easy to control it. It just kind of wants to stick to itself and pretty much stay where you put it. I mean, you could tip it and I'm sure get it to drip, but it's pretty good at staying put. So now I'm just filling in any little gaps that I may have missed or didn't put enough on. And I think that's pretty good. So now, while that's fresh on there, I'm going to take alcohol ink. This one happens to be crimson, but you could do this in any color. And I will maybe, yeah. And then I'm just going to put a drop. There you go. There's one drop, and you can see the difference. Let's zoom in there a little bit. One drop goes a long ways to color it, and I'll just put another drop. Now you could mix alcohol colors too, right? You wouldn't have to do it all one color. But this is just another way to color your chipboard, or to add color in with your Diamond Glaze. I'm getting a little bit drippy on there. And it kind of travels with the glaze. Oh, that's just so beautiful. It's almost like looks a little bit like translucent. I'm making a mess now. My alcohol's dripping all over. So it'd be a good idea to have some Yupo paper behind this to catch your drips and use it on a project. Yeah, and it just travels in there beautifully. So that's going to give you a nice deep colored word there to add onto your project. And you can see where it gives it a different look. This one, even while the Diamond Glaze is still wet, you can see that the color is underneath the glaze on this one, at least in person. Where this one, it's like the glaze has taken on the color of the alcohol ink. So it's a very cool. It's two different effects, but both give you. I just really like that alcohol one. Very cool effect. So I hope you give that a try and came up with some new ways to use your Diamond Glaze or other glazing products. Try something new this week. Have a great week.